Hey friends, my name is Jackson and welcome back to my channel. So I decided to split the 8-year anniversary special into two parts. So at least one part would go up today because I definitely wanted to release it on the 29th, but something came up and I couldn't get my work done. I've been stressed out for a couple of days now. I don't really want to talk about it or get into it, but basically I've stressed out and I actually woke up today and I had stress constipation, so I ended up taking an extra strength laxative, which I bought the last time I had constipation, which was like back in December. Like, remember in December and January when I was talking about how I was constipated and it ended up being because of my medication? So I had regular laxatives and then I went to the store to buy more laxatives because I was out and I found the exact same laxatives but extra strength. So I decided to try those and they work way better than the regular laxatives. And it's been like a couple hours since I've gone to the bathroom last. I think I got it all out of my system. It took a couple of times of me going back and forth to the toilet, but I think I got it all out. And the extra strength laxative actually works really well, like way better than the regular laxative. Although I could have just probably taken a regular laxative today. I don't think I needed the extra strength. But I don't know. I just woke up with stress constipation, and you know how it is. You get all crampy. And I did go to the bathroom a little bit in the morning, but it wasn't enough and I could still feel there was a lot of stuff in there. So I ended up taking laxative and it worked itself out really well. And anyway, I ended up coming across this post online about someone who was asking if their millipedes can get salmonella. It popped up on the homepage, and it was really interesting because people were discussing the possibility of like exotic vets dealing with millipedes and various invertebrates, which I've been keeping invertebrates for the last 2 years, and not once have I heard of an invertebrate vet. I even asked like a couple years ago before I got a tarantula if there were like tarantula vets around, and someone said, yeah, you can take it to the vet. So, like, if there are any big issues with my tarantulas, I haven't had any tarantula issues so far. I mean, a couple of slings died, but like, that's basically par for the course, you know? They're extremely delicate and stuff happens, and my slings just pass because they're tiny and delicate, and I don't know. I couldn't get a real reason or answer to my question, so I didn't know. But, anyways, invertebrates, vets, I thought didn't exist, but maybe they kind of do exist. Anyway, it's pretty I don't know, but I do have an exotics vet. I made sure before I bought my snake, I made sure to get an exotics vet. The vet is all the way in Toronto because I called a few different places and they don't take snakes. There is no place that I can go that takes snakes in this area, unfortunately, because this is a much smaller town rather than in the big city. And we used to be a lot closer to Toronto, but pretty much after my dad left, we moved from Toronto to like a smaller area. So about the last 15 years, we've mostly been in the Aurora slash Newmarket slash North York area. So this is kind of where we are right now. We've been here for a long time. And so if I have to take my snake to the vet, I basically have to spend a bunch of money and like at least an hour there and an hour back just to get him to and from the vet. But you know, if I couldn't find a vet for that, I wouldn't have been able to get a snake, so I was just like, "Okay, whatever," and I haven't even had any big issues with him yet, you know? I've had like, he goes off food, he's went off food a couple of times, but that always resolves itself every single time. I think he's been off food something like maybe 2 to 3 times. I think this is about the 3rd time he's gone off food, and I looked it up, and it's because of breeding season, which makes a lot of sense because last year pretty much the same thing happened, like, he ate the first couple of times, but then for, like, 5 to 6 weeks after I owned him, like, he ate the first couple of times, then he went off food for about 5 to 6 weeks, then he was back on food, so it makes a lot of sense that it was because of breeding season. So, yeah. So there are invert vets out there, and I do have a snake vet, but it's all the way in Toronto. I couldn't find any exotic vets in the area. And I called basically every vet in the area, like in town, in Aurora, in stuff. Any places I can look ultimately. Ultimately, I'm just gonna have to take him to Toronto if I have any significant issues with him come up. And he always goes back on food, so I'm not worried about that, especially now that I know that it's because of breeding season and he's a snake and snakes they just do that. They go off food during breeding season, so that's why he's not eating. So he hasn't eaten in, I think, I fed him 2 days ago, and I think that was like the fifth time he's gone off food, or maybe the sixth. Either the fifth or sixth time that he hasn't eaten. Anyway, I gave him a little pinky mouse in there, and he did not eat it, so I took it out. I was like, I took it away. I don't know. He hangs around the food dish. He likes to slither around in his food dish near the food. He doesn't actually eat the food. He just likes being in the proximity of the food. It's very, very odd but silly snake behavior. I don't really understand it, but I mean, I can't ask him why he does that, so, I don't know. Snakes just do weird things. I don't know. I'm discovering all these new things about him. I feel like I'm discovering something new every day. And I was gonna make this silly video where I essentially like gave him a review, but I didn't end up being able to do that because of, you know, stressful events in my life and stuff that came up, and it just wasn't viable at the time. And I don't really want to. I'm not ready to talk about what's been going on over the past couple days because every time I talk about it, I just end up stuttering and not really. So I'm gonna kind of give him a little short review here. I have to go to the bathroom. Hang Oh my god. Okay, I think the situation has been handled. I had to run to the bathroom because, of course, the second I turn the camera on, I have to go to the bathroom all of a sudden, even though I didn't have to go to the bathroom for like 2 to 3 hours before I turn on the camera. So who knows? So I can't. I'm not gonna put this in a separate video, but I did want to do a review of Yahtzee, and I got him on the 26th, exactly 1 year and like 3 days ago. I'm recording this on the 29th, so I was gonna do this on the 26th, but obviously, like I said, stuff came up, and so now I'm gonna do a review and put it in this video as soon as the freaking train goes by. Uh, I got some Powerade because my mom put some in the fridge because she's a freaking lifesaver and I love her and I appreciate her and I wish she was here. She's not. She's gonna be back on Saturday, so I'll see her then and stuff. Um, and anyway, I just have power here because I need it because, to replenish electrolytes and stuff. Oh, look at that. Hey, these bottles have 50% more electrolytes. I didn't even realize that. That's actually great. Okay, so anyway, okay, so I got them a year ago. So in December of, I think, 2023 it was, I bought the tank. It was used, so essentially I just bought a used tank right then and there. I think it was like 60 or maybe $70, but it's a 20-gallon, and because he's a male, he can live in there for his entire life. Unless he gets to a certain size, at which point I will, if he gets to a certain size, which I don't think that he will, but if he gets to the size where he needs a 40-gallon, I'll probably be able to upgrade him to a 40-gallon. That probably shouldn't be an issue. Although that might be an issue with the table he's currently on. There's a little bit of room. There's a little bit of like extra room for extra width and stuff, but not much. But the table that he's on right now, my grandpa actually made it, and basically it's about the exact perfect size to fit the 20-gallon tank that he's currently living in, which your tanks should be on like a table. They shouldn't just be on the floor if you can help it. I mean, the tarantulas just live in warm open, so it's okay if their enclosures are on the floor, which isn't where they are right now. They're actually very carefully set up beside my bed because, like, I don't have room. I don't have a lot of space here. I have to basically put them anywhere that I possibly can. Like, I don't have the space here for to decide where to put stuff. And I didn't have a lot of space in my old apartment either to decide where to put stuff. So, didn't have a lot of space in my old place. And I might have a little more space here. The problem, like, this apartment is definitely bigger. The problem is it's mostly full of my mom's stuff, and she doesn't want me bringing too much of my stuff into it. So I'm trying to be really careful and mindful of that, but also, I mean, she was even talking about like cleaning up some of this clutter this summer. So I'm gonna get her to make me a list of exactly what she thinks that would look like and start running through it with Tracy, my support worker, because We actually didn't get any work done today. Tracy cleaned up the house a little bit actually, and did some. Well, she put the dishes in the dishwasher, took out the trash, stuff like that, because she thinks my mom would appreciate it. My mom's away, so yeah, I feel like she would appreciate it, and I got some laundry done too. And anyway, back to the whole snake thing, because I feel like that was the whole point. So coming back to my snake. So the first thing I did was got the tank. And now he's in there. And 20-gallon is great. It's a great size for him. So apparently an adult male Kenyan sand boa can normally thrive in a 20-gallon. So that size is actually perfect for him. At least that's what I heard. That's what the reptile keepers said in their videos, and that's what people are saying, like online and stuff. I did a lot of research online. I posted a lot of questions. I asked a lot of people. I asked online, but I also researched stuff on Google, and I also asked people at the reptile stores and certain breeders certain questions. And the breeder I got Yahtzee from, I still send him questions sometimes, and he helps me out if I have a question or something. Like he's really good about that. I really appreciate it because he actually messages me back and is like, "Oh, here's the information you need for that." If he can answer my question, he gives me the information that I need. So he's been really helpful in this whole snake process. I've had my snake for a year now, and I got all his decorations set up, and I have a large rock that's covered in moss. It's fake moss and it's a fake rock, and it's from the reptile store beside. And I also got some stuff from various expos and stuff. Anyway, I got the heat lamp set up. There was a thermometer also set up. Or like a heat monitoring thing where the light is on and you can tell when the heat is on and stuff. So it just turns off when it gets to a certain temperature, and then it turns back on when it gets too cold. And so basically, I have the thing set to the exact temperature that he needs it at, and the rock is right under the heat lamp, so he can use it to hide. So there's a hidey hole in there, and he can hide in there, or he can slither up onto the rock and use the heat lamp, which he does usually at night. I've been seeing him more and more often during the day. I can't tell if that's just because he's becoming more comfortable, or it's because he needs heat during the day, or it's a combination of things. But also, we just got over a cold spell in the middle of it's weirdly cold. It's been weirdly cold here over the last couple weeks, which is odd because it's freaking May. Like it's almost June. And I think last year around this time, we actually had a heat wave of 31 or 32 degrees. And last summer, the electricity went off and it was off for an hour or so. And I was freaking out because I was worried about his heat lamp and stuff. And my mom was like, well, the AC is off. So at least if it gets, so, it's hot. So you don't have to worry about him because if it gets hot, because at least if it gets hot in here, because the AC is gone off. So he doesn't need a heat lamp. And if his heat goes off, if his heat goes on, he doesn't it's hot enough that he probably won't need a heat lamp in the summer because it was a really, really, really hot day. So, luckily the power came on an hour later, so his I didn't need to worry about his heat lamp. But I'm pretty sure if it had ended up being off for a long time, he would have been okay. It might not have been ideal temperatures. They actually need it pretty hot because they can't so basically, snakes can't create their own heat like humans do, I guess. I don't really know what to call that. But so they need an external heat source, and that pretty much goes for all reptiles. So you gotta get a heat lamp whenever you get a reptile. He doesn't need UVB technically. I don't know if I'm doing something wrong by not giving him a UVB. Everywhere I've read, it says you don't really need UVB for them. So I just didn't bother with it. I'm okay with it. And he's okay. He seems to be thriving, so as long as he's cool with it. But anyway, I mean, aside from the couple of times he's gone off food, he's been eating really well too. So he's actually up to fuzzies now, which I have to make sure whenever I get him fuzzies to get the smaller ones because he still can't eat the bigger ones and they come in various sizes. So I always try and make sure to ask the reptile store to get the smaller ones for him so that he can actually, eat them because he can't eat past a certain amount of body weight, but he can eat a mouse that's bigger than him. And one time I put a mouse in there and my mom was like, "Isn't that too big for him?" And I don't know, my mom bothers me because she gives me a ton of snake advice when she has no experience with snakes and it's really annoying and she didn't do any research or anything and she just, I don't know, stuff just comes out of her mouth and she just says stuff. It's always annoying. Like, okay. Like, I don't know. I'm the one who's owned a snake for a year. I'm not gonna pretend like I'm an expert and I know everything. Like, I'm still learning stuff too. And there's definitely stuff that I'm still keeping an eye on and I still have to learn and stuff. I've seen him taking a drink like a few times, and it's always really interesting. And the first time it was crazy because I didn't see him taking a drink a lot. I think I've handled him about maybe a little more than once a month since I got him. Maybe like, I think I've handled him like probably about actually, probably about 12 to 15 times. He's always been really chill with handling. Once he bit me because I took him out to actually feed him. I've been just putting the mouse in there in his food dish and leaving him to it. I find that that's easier and better for him instead of, taking him out of the tank and putting him in a separate container. My mom actually suggested that, so I got him like a little food dish so he's not swallowing Aspen shavings with his dinner. And then I just put the mouse in there when I'm on my way to bed. Leave it overnight, and if he doesn't eat it by the morning, then I just take it out and toss it in the trash, which is what I did the other day. Because he didn't eat it, because he's not eating right now, because he's on a food strike. He's a he's just a chill little guy. I also got bitten the second time, but I'm pretty sure that was like right after he shed and he was kind of moody. He can be a moody little bugger sometimes. It doesn't hurt it there's a tiny sting. It's like a little pinprick or something, and he drew blood both the times, but it didn't hurt or anything. Like it's fine. Like I'd rather be bitten by him than be bitten by say a rat or something or, some other animal. I mean, he's basically the only animal I have right now that I actually handle. I don't handle my tarantulas. They don't like it. It doesn't benefit them. And I did accidentally handle Persephone, my Mexican red knee, one time. I was rehousing her. I was moving her to like a bigger enclosure, and she just happened to decide to explore my arm. But I was really careful about it, and I ended up being able to get her into the enclosure, and she just like I didn't encourage her in any way, but when I tried to take her out, she just was climbing on my arm. So I have some pictures of that maybe I'll post them on a separate thing or something. So anyway, he's a chill little guy. And he feeds good. And seeing him is always a pleasure. He's so cute. I love him. He is a cute little puppy dog face. He's like the most adorable little thing I've ever seen. And I'm so glad I found out they existed because here's the thing. I knew they existed, but I kind of forgot that they existed. Okay, so basically when I was first researching animals, I was looking at certain channels and I was specifically looking up how to care for certain snakes. And then I was realizing I don't have the space for a big snake.
Yeah.
A ball python, I'm pretty sure, requires like a 120 gallon. And I'm actually really glad I didn't go with the bigger snake because even if I had the space for it there, I don't have the space for a ball python or something here right now. Like, I mean, actually, yeah, my mom made it work with my sister's bearded dragon, but the bearded dragon was in a 40 gallon. I know, don't get me started. But anyway, so I started specifically looking for like smaller animals that I could keep, and I would search that up on YouTube sometimes. And like I was specifically searching for smaller snake species. And this one video came up from this really popular reptile channel that I'd seen a few videos from, and I actually really liked the guy. His name is Clint's Reptiles, and I love watching. I've actually seen a ton of videos from him now at this point. But one of the very first videos, I think it was like my fourth or fifth video that I saw from him, was because I specifically searched it up. It was the smaller snakes, and specifically ones that you can keep in a 10 gallon. Now, I know it says 10 gallon, but hear me out. That was a few years ago, number one. Number two, I decided to go a little bigger because people were saying to go even broader. People were saying 20 gallons is more appropriate for them. So I went with 20 gallons. I went with the majority, like majority rules. And Clint did say 10 gallon, but like not always the case, and sometimes, things are just more appropriate. I don't know how to say it. So anyway, but one and there were a couple of snakes in there, and one of them was hognoses, and I was heavily considering the hognose. I was heavily considering him because they have this cute little piggy snout that looks like a little pig, and it's actually pretty freaking cute, and I love them too. But then I saw an even cuter snake. Then he brought out the Kenyan sand boa, and there were spiders and stuff too. But I have spiders, and they're good. They're really cool. I don't know. I wanted specifically a snake, and more specifically, something I could handle. And there were a couple of other creatures on the list, which I don't remember what they are because they're not what I wanted. I wanted a snake. I was really dead set on getting a snake. I probably could have got a crested gecko or something else, but at this point, I was dead set on a snake. I wanted a snake to be my first reptile. I don't know why, I just did. So he brought out the Kenyan sand boa, and holy crap, the cutest little thing I'd ever seen. So pretty colors. I love them. I was like, I want one. And then I remembered another video where I'd seen one, and I saw this video like years before I saw Clint's video. And then I just forgot they existed or something, I guess. But the video was from Taylor Nicole Dean, who is also a really popular pet YouTuber, and who I've also watched a ton of videos from. And one of her most popular animals was her cowfish named Cheese, which one time when I went to Big Al's, I saw a cowfish there, and I was like, oh my god, it's Cheese! And my mom was like, what are you talking about? My mom was there too. My mom was like, what are you talking about? So I was explaining the whole Taylor Nicole Dean and Cheese situation to her, and she's passed away obviously some years ago. So that was unfortunate. But he was like an icon on Taylor Nicole Dean's channel. But the video that I saw from her was about her getting her first snake, and she was talking about the Kenyan sand boa. And the Kenyan sand boa that I have personally, he is a wild type morph because I really love the orange and black. I thought it was so gorgeous. I mean, but also her morph is pretty cool too, and I was actually thinking about branching out if I was going to get a second one. I definitely want to get a second one. I want to make that perfectly clear. Like, if I could have my dream, I would have like 4 or 5 of them all in different tanks, and I would just have like a few of them like around the house. I don't think that's going to be possible depending on where I end up, but like it'd be really cool if I could have a few Kenyan sand boas. So I wanted to kind of branch out with the morphs that I got and not get a wild type morph next time. And hers is also really cute. It's called an Annery, I'm pretty sure. I also saw one at the pet store maybe a year or two ago when I was first looking at Kenyan sand boas as a pet possibility, and then it got sold eventually. But it cost like $300, and mine cost about $120, I think. I was just looking for the cheapest breeder at the time that was also, really good and knew what they were doing and took good care of their animals. And my Kenyan Sambo is perfectly healthy. He's never had any issues aside from the going off food thing, but that's common with snakes. That's kind of what snakes do. So essentially, Taylor Nicole Dean made the video about getting her Kenyan sand boa, and then I guess I just forgot that a Kenyan sand boa existed, but I don't know. It was one of those things where I looked at it the first time and I was just like, okay, cool, and stuff. And then I just move on with life. And then I saw it a second time after I'd been brought there by a different video, and I was like, oh my god, oh yeah, this is that. And I just kind of connected it that this is the same snake from the video that I just watched. And holy crap, they're beautiful. They have adorable faces. I love them so much. They're a dopey little snake. I want one. I totally want one. So I absolutely fell head over heels for Kenyan sand boas. They're my favorite snake. I can say that right now. They might not be the best for handling. My guy is pretty cool with handling. He's pretty chill. He's just a cool guy. I love him. I got really lucky with the snake with a good personality. They don't all have great personalities. Like every snake has a different personality, but I'm pretty sure I lucked out with his personality. His personality is pretty great, and he's mostly a pretty chill little guy, aside from the odd nip. But he usually he's just moody or hungry or whatever. So, because the first time was as a feeding response, because he knew since I was taking him out of the cage, I was getting food for him. So he gave me the little nip. So, yeah, but holy crap, I love my little guy, and he's cute, and I'm gonna give him out of, like, 10, I'd probably give him a 9.5. if I had to rate my snake. But honestly, so it's been a year with him, and I love him more than the first day that I first got him. So I got him May 26th, and there were actually Facebook memories popping up on my page over the past couple days about having the snake and getting the snake and all these pictures that I took. And oh my god, he's so freaking cute. And I actually ended up giving a memory of 1 year ago versus today, which is the day when I first got him and he slithered into the aspen right away as soon as I put him in the cage, and then versus today when he lets me handle him freely and is totally chill about it. I think the last time I handled him was like 4 days ago, 5 days ago. My mom got some good pictures, so I gotta actually, I should save them in my phone and then share them on YouTube with you guys. Um, okay, but anyway, holy crap, he is so freaking adorable. I love him. I want more of him. If I could have my dream come true, I would have a bunch of reptiles, but like ultimately as many Kenyan sand boas as possible. Like, um, there are a few certain lizards that I really want. I want a cat. That's the big one. That's the big one. Pretty much the only one that's not a reptile that I actually care about because can't do rabbits, can't do birds, can't do dogs. Um can't do dogs, can't do rodents because I'm allergic. So that pretty much leaves me with cats and reptiles. And holy crap, do I want a ton of reptiles. I want bearded dragons, blue tongue skinks, crested geckos, but mostly I just want a bunch of different morphs of Kenyan sand boas and possibly some other snakes. Those are my big ones. A bunch of Kenyan sand boas and the few lizards that I just listed. And then there are definitely other ones that I'd also like to have. But those are secondary. Someday I will rank like all the pets that I want in order. That should actually be my next video. Maybe that'll be my first video of June. Although this will probably be my first video of June because I'm gonna try and get this out, but it might not be till June 1st or June 2nd. We'll see. But I mean, the 31st is on Saturday, and I'll probably have this done and edited by then and exported and everything. So I think I'm gonna make that list my first video of June, or at least I'm going to try. I want to rank every animal that I want in the order that I want them. And like, actually, I think I need to get that together, and not just for you guys because it would be a fun video to do, but for me so I can prioritize like what pets I want. Because realistically, I can't have all the pets that I want. Although, for my future, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I'm gonna be living here for the next few years, and when I told my mom that, she got like she was suddenly more open to the idea of a crested gecko because I started talking about it. And she's not gonna say yes to a cat because there are a ton of variables. Like she was talking about how they scratch up the furniture. I was mentioning how they would get into a plant. My mom's a huge plant person. She has like a bunch of plants around the house. She loves them basically. So I don't want to screw that up for her. It's one of her favorite hobbies, and I don't want to take that away from her just so I can have a cat and possibly have the cat get into them. Cats are very much known for like getting into plants and stuff, so I just think it wouldn't be a good idea at this time. And my mom agrees, and we were talking about reasons why a cat is a bad idea. There are just a lot of variables, and like I won't care if the cat scratches up my furniture or something. But she would. She totally would. I'm willing to make the sacrifice. My mom just is more of a dog person in general. Like, my mom is a dog person. I am a cat person. I get it. Dogs. Dogs are amazing. I love dogs, but because of all the shit that happened in my past, I just can't have a dog. I can't have a dog around. I can't have a dog around when I'm living here, and I can't be the owner of a dog again. And I can't. So, doesn't matter. But I really want to make sure that I'm prioritizing my pets in the order that I want them. So, crested gecko, probably next. Also, another invert at the expo that's coming up, possibly. There's an expo coming up in a couple weeks that's going to be on the 15th, but because that's my sister's birthday weekend, my mom's going to actually be down there that weekend, so she's not going to be around. So, that's a bummer. But, you know, um, It was just in my head, and then it just flew out of my head, the thought that I had. That's a bummer, but we're hoping I'm hoping to do, like, the next one because she's gonna be away from the 1st to the 10th visiting grandma or whatever, so hopefully the next expo will be after she gets back, and then we can go to that one, because I really wanna go to another reptile expo, and I've been making a big fuss about it, and, I just I really wanna go, and she gets that, and I think we're gonna be going to the next one after the one in June. So hopefully that'll be happening after she comes back from Florida, because it'd be terrible timing if the next expo was when she was in Florida. And, I can't exactly do that if I'm going to bring home an invert, which actually might be what happens. I am trying to ease her into the idea of getting another invert. She's somewhat open to it. I think she's less open to it than the idea of a crested gecko. I think if I get the gecko, it won't matter so much if I get the invert or not. I don't know. But I'm thinking either maybe beetle or jumping spider, like a full-grown jumping spider this time, not a baby like Phineas. He died after a couple weeks, so that was unfortunate. But like I said, with spiders, they just don't they tend to die as babies. It just happens a lot. Um, okay. I think I gotta take a break right now, and then I'll be back in like maybe 30 to 40 minutes. And I might not get all the recording done today, but I'm gonna start with some Reddit stuff when I come back. So the last video was about 4 hours long, so I think I have about maybe a little over 4 hours to go. I think the last video was closer to 3 hours, 40 minutes, so I'm gonna try and do a little over 4 hours when I get back. So I'll see you guys then. Hey guys, I'm back. Just let me get into my Reddit stuff. I gotta go to my Reddit page, so hang on a sec. I really should do this before I start recording, but just hang on. Ugh. So I'm only recording until my mom says she's coming home. So it could be a short time, or it could be like an hour or more. I have no idea. Also, my brain is feeling a little like weird and hazy today. It's not like a brain fog. I don't really know how to explain it. Anyway. So it's already on a post that I wanted to read anyway. So let's just go through it. Am I the asshole for lying to my friend when he asked why we no longer hang out? I, a 19 female, go to university. My first year I made a friend, 20 male, Tom. Tom and I were going to get dinner together and saw two of his friends, 20 male, and sat with them. I had met these friends in passing, but I didn't know much more than their names. The three guys I was sitting with started talking about their quote unquote crazy friend, 20 male, Jerry. Jerry is someone I had never met or heard of, as he does not go to my university. It got weird when it got weird when I asked about what Jerry does that is crazy. I was told he was in a lecture, answered a question, and corrected by another student. Apparently, he called her a bitch for correcting him just loud enough where students around him would hear it, and the professor and the woman herself couldn't. To me, it sounded to me like Jerry was wrong and didn't like being corrected by a woman, but I chose to not say anything. They then told a story where Jerry asked a girl out, and she accepted, but she later told Jerry her cousin was having a birthday party and she would be unable to make their date. Joey was somehow able to find out where the party is, how he got this information said, instead of being on the outside about both of these situations, thinking they were funny. Obviously, this made me extremely uncomfortable because what Joey did was extremely inappropriate. In the moment, I chose to just grab my plate and leave silently. Tom could tell I was upset and followed me. When we got outside, I briefly told him that conversation about Joey made me uncomfortable, but didn't go into specifics. He didn't blow me off, but he wasn't super understanding either. He basically shrugged and just said, yeah. I do not feel guilty about anything above, but this is where I may be the asshole. Tom and I saw each other maybe 2 times after that, and things were normal. But after some reflection, I chose to distance myself from him because I no longer felt safe around him. I feel that if I was put in an unsafe situation with a guy, I cannot rely on him. Instead of confronting him, I chose to just quietly distance myself. We went a couple months without seeing each other, and in April, about 5 months after the dining hall incident, Tom reached out asking why we don't hang out as much anymore. I chose to lie and say it happens, friends drift apart. I did this because I generally avoid conflict and did not want to deal with telling him why I no longer want to be friends. I feel guilty, but at the same time, I don't feel like I should have to explain to a 20-year-old man why Jerry borderline stalking woman is not funny and why I would now feel uncomfortable being around someone that has proven they will not advocate for a woman if a guy is being creepy. Then there's just the mod stuff. Not the asshole. It would have been great if you had been able to say something like, well, the way you and your friends talk about women, I don't feel safe or comfortable with you anymore. But it's not your responsibility to say that. Not the asshole. Jesus fucking Christ, the commenters in here are saying you should have made it a learning opportunity. No, you don't owe him that. He has already shown himself as someone that believes that dangerous and boundary crossing behavior is fine or even funny. Why would you expose yourself to more danger by calling him out? Women do not exist to be signposts for morality for men. We do not owe them hand holding and gentle correction when they are being terrible people. Any man that can't understand this needs to spend some time looking hundreds of murders at any of the sadly what abundant murders of women who simply turn down a man for a date. If we can be killed simply for declining a date, what do you think is going to happen when we tell someone, hey, the choice that you're making here is morally bankrupt. You made the smart choice. Honestly, people are unpredictable, so, try and set boundaries for yourself, but also, be safe out there. Just like, it's really hard to set boundaries and, like, also be careful and make sure, you're making the smart choice and you're not putting yourself in any danger because people will often just do whatever they want without really caring about the consequences, or they'll just go fucking crazy. Like, I know some situations where, like, I was at the movies once, and because I have this sinus condition, I'm like sniffling and stuff, and someone confronted me after the movie and was very angry because she said I shouldn't be going to the movies when I was sick. So I told her that I'm not sick and it's allergies because it's easier to explain that I have a chronic sinus condition, although maybe that's what I should have said. Although I also doubt it would have changed anything. So then she told me not to come to the movies with allergies, but like, this is a chronic sinus condition that's gonna last for probably my whole life. Like, what am I supposed to do? Not leave the house because I might upset someone? Anyway, I haven't, like, seen or heard from her since, which is the ideal situation, and next time I'm going to just, like, actually tell her it's a chronic sinus condition, or I don't know, just walk away from her or something. I don't know. I gotta find a better way to deal with that, and, I don't know. It really freaked me out at the time. But, then I was like, "Oh, okay, whatever, well, yeah." And nothing ever came of it, so, I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter. I don't know, if I run into her again, I'm just not gonna I don't know, I'm not gonna give her a reason to get upset. I mean, I guess my sniffling in and of itself is a reason to be upset, but I'm just not gonna, I don't know, bother with her or anything. Like, it's so hard to know how to handle a situation to not upset someone further. Okay, not the asshole. Given the way they talk about their friend and how they think it's funny, you have no idea how he may react, and there is no reason you need to explain. People drift apart, and that's that. Not the asshole. It is not your job to tell him, and people have the right to choose who their friends are. You chose. End of story. Good job, though. Friends are a representation of who you are, too, and Tom hanging out and enabling Jerry means he is just like him. Not the asshole. You are under no obligation. You are under no responsibility to put yourself in any situation or associate with anyone you don't feel safe with or just don't want to hang around with them anymore. Unless there's some legal financial issue involved, you don't have any responsibility to their feelings other than general civility. Not the asshole. The people we choose to be friends with say a lot about us. They do? Behind my back? No, I'm just kidding. We got something about Aqua Teen Hunger Force. Wild. Oh my gosh. Okay, interesting. We should talk about this. I don't know. I'm not gonna like do the whole thing because going over the whole thing would be really complicated and weird. Um, yeah. Hmm. Hmm. Oh man. Ugh. Okay, this one's actually from Abusive Relationships. It popped up on my homepage, so I'm reading it. My boyfriend pinned me down and choked me. I need perspective. I'm feeling confused and shaken and really need some outside perspective. My boyfriend and I have been together for about 2.5 years. We've always had a passionate, sometimes volatile dynamic. When we argue, things can get really heated, and we've both said incredibly hurtful things to each other in the moment. Other times, our relationship is really great, so it's confusing. I'll be honest, in the past, I've slapped him out of anger during arguments. I'm not proud of it, and I know that's okay. We've both reacted poorly in fights, and it's something I've been trying to work on. Recently, though, he got into another argument when he was under the influence. This time, he pushed his arm away from me, and he grabbed me, pinned me down, and choked me for a few seconds. That's breakup material. That's breakup right there. I couldn't breathe and was really scared. At first he was sorry, but now he's doubling down that I shouldn't have yelled at him and pushed him to do it. You didn't. How did you? No, you didn't push him to do anything. His actions are his responsibility, no one else's. Recently, though, we got into another argument while he was under. Okay, blah blah blah. Now I feel completely thrown. Part of me feels guilt for my role in our toxic arguing patterns, but another part of me is deeply scared and can't stop replaying what happened. I don't know how to process it or what to make of it. Most of the time, our relationship is great, but I've been depressed lately and haven't been the nicest, and I'm trying to understand if this is something I can come back or if it's time to walk away for good. Definitely get out of there. Like, just leave. Don't even say anything. You gotta leave. Most of the time, our relationship is great, but I've been depressed lately and haven't been the nicest, and I'm trying to understand. Okay, yeah, that already read that part. Has anyone been in a situation like this where both people have hurt each other, but then it escalated in a way that was dangerous? I don't think it's something I'm going to be able to forget. I'm not an expert, but I've been told in the past from my counselor that choking is one step in physical abuse that escalates into further physical abuse. It's part of the cycle and is a major warning sign. Might be worth reading up on domestic abuse and learn to recognize the signs and behaviors. In regards to your actual relationship, I'd ask yourself brutally honest questions. What were you arguing about? How did both of you react and behave during that argument? Do you actually want to be in a relationship like this for the long term? There's a difference between how abusive people versus non abusive people behave in arguments. For example, my ex and I didn't had an argument because he wanted sex and I didn't, and that escalated in him grabbing me by the throat and pinning me to the side of a boat when we were on a romantic boat cruise. It was horrible. At the time, I didn't know any better, and forums like Reddit didn't exist, so that relationship went for 5 years of him being controlling and domineering and abusive. A normal person wouldn't have behaved that way and wouldn't be okay with trying to coerce someone into having sex. And if you let this occasion of throat grabbing slide, he'll know he can get away with it, and next time, you don't know how far he'll push things. True. Strangulation is really dangerous because even what might seem minor, like for a few seconds, can cause trauma to the airway and neck. These areas are very vascular and can swell significantly, which could lead to asphyxiation if the airway swells enough. Even if he only did it to scare you or assert his control, he could have killed you unintentionally. And also, no one should be. Intentionally or not, though, this is extremely dangerous behavior, and you shouldn't forget it. A relationship is not worth your safety. And also, no one should be trying to assert their control in a relationship. A relationship is supposed to be a partnership where you both have equal power. That's the entire point. Like, my dad would always do things just for the power. As an example, and this is one I was thinking of like a few days ago, and I even told Tracy about it because I knew she'd be proud of me, unlike my dad. So, I was supposed to like have my phone charged. I was like 13 and I recently got my first cell phone and I was in middle school, and my dad was gonna like call me on the phone and he was gonna give me directions to walk home. So he was like, "Don't forget to charge your phone during the night." And I forgot to charge my phone, so I tried to call him at the school, but he didn't pick up. And I decided to just like walk home by myself because I didn't know what else to do at that point. So I just walked home and like I freaking made it. And I was, like, really, really proud of myself, but so I went into the apartment and I told my dad, like, what happened, and we were in the lobby, and, like, he didn't talk to me at all until we got to the house, and he started yelling at me about how I shouldn't have not charged my phone, and, like, made me, like, write lines to not forget to charge my phone or whatever. Luckily, he didn't check my progress because I only wrote, like, 10 of them. I think he told me to do 100 or something, but I didn't even get barely that far. But whatever. And it was totally about control because if it was just about him being worried about me, like getting home by myself, then he wouldn't have been so mad. Like the whole time we were going up to the apartment, I could tell he was mad. I could feel the tension in the air. Like it wasn't hard to notice. But ultimately, he was really mad at me, and that was definitely about just, I don't know, using power to his advantage and making sure we did whatever he said. It wasn't actually about charging my phone, because I didn't charge my phone and I still made it home by myself. So obviously it wasn't about like making sure I got home safe or whatever, it was about power. And I used to think that I really fucked up by not charging my phone, but now I realize he was just doing it for the power. Okay, I know it hasn't been long. It's been like 13 minutes, but I have to go eat something like really bad. I don't know if maybe that's the part of the problem with why my head feels this way. But I definitely have to eat something now and plug in my computer. So I think I'm gonna just I think this is enough for today. My head is like all over the place and like very hazy and weird and like I don't know how to explain it. It was happening even when Tracy and I went out on our errands. So I think I'm just gonna be like done with this for today. I'll have plenty of time to record tomorrow, when before I go to the movies. So I'm gonna go for now and I will be back. All right, mom's out of the house. I'm gonna record a few Reddit stories. I'm gonna start with this one that I found a few days ago but didn't get saved properly. So I ended up looking it up and I found it. And this is really sad. Um, I'm 22 female and my 26 male boyfriend is terrified of spiders and is demanding that I move my pet tarantula to the basement. I am refusing because the basement is too cold for the animal to survive. We are at a standstill and I need advice on what to do. And they made a throwaway account for this one. But this is from Best of Redditor updates. So, um trigger warning, animal abuse, death of a pet spider, domestic abuse. Oh shit. Well, that's upsetting. Well, okay, now I know what happens in the end. The title, and this was originally posted December 5th, 2014. Holy crap. The title basically sums it up, but I'll add some more detail. Thank you for reading this. I, 22 female, met my boyfriend exactly 2 years ago. At the time, I had three pet tarantulas Skittles, Mittens, and Christopher. I don't know much you all know about tarantulas, but they live in warm environments, specifically the rainforest and desert for my tarantulas. They also never leave their enclosures for any reason, just like a fish. Unless you're cleaning out the cage. That's the only time I move them. The only time. Like, you're not supposed to free roam tarantulas or whatever, like you would sometimes. Like, I don't even handle them like I would my snake because they don't like to be handled. So I just like leave them be, let them do their weird tarantula things. And they just do tarantula stuff all day. Anyway, a year ago, I moved into the house my boyfriend owns. Originally, the tarantulas were all placed into the basement office. It was summer and the tarantulas were fine. When winter came, I noticed the basement was unaffected by the central heater. Only one room in the basement has heat, and it isn't the office the tarantulas were in. In February, Skittles passed away, and I moved the remaining two tarantulas to the upstairs office to still keep them out of sight. One sec, I need to get my charger. Ugh, okay. Wait, no, that's not how it works. Damn it. It's not looking. Um, no. Okay. Sheesh. Alright. Okay. Wait, what? Okay. Anyway, in October, it started to get cold again. I noticed that the upstairs office was the coldest room on the floor. I researched reptile heating pads, but everything said not to use them for young tarantulas. I put a space heater in the office, but a draft still made the low ambient room temperature too low. I tried everything I could, but then Mittens passed away as well. Left with one tarantula, I moved Christopher to the kitchen slash dining room peninsula, where it was definitely warm enough. Christopher was in a container smaller than a shoebox in size. My boyfriend immediately demanded that I remove Christopher from the kitchen and put him in the basement. I asked my boyfriend if there was anywhere else the tarantula could go on the upper floor besides the office, and I was told to put him in the basement. Basically, we got into an argument about this. I explained that about the health concerns for the animal, and my boyfriend said he didn't care. I explained to him that whether or not he liked it, the spider was in my care, and I was ethically obligated to care for it no matter what. I said that I've had Christopher for 4 years, and that I had the tarantulas before we started dating. My boyfriend said he would think about it, but Christopher is still on the counter, and it's become the elephant in the room. What should I do? Too long didn't read. I had 3 pet tarantulas. Okay, yeah. And someone is here saying, um, reading through your explanations about external heat sources and such. So, oh, relevant comments. Reading through your explanations about external heat sources and such, could you not put Christopher in a larger tank in the basement with an external heat source near one side of the tank? Wouldn't that give him the ability to choose where he is most comfortable at any given time, close to the heat or further from it? And then, and also, uh, and then OP replies, I would put him in a larger tank, but that was another fight my boyfriend and I had. He wants the tarantula kept in the smallest tank possible. If the tank were larger, I would do exactly as you said. For the size of the tarantula, it should be in a container roughly 12 by 12 by 9 inches. Anything bigger is just fluff, which I don't mind at all. I also want to add that if tarantulas are kept in too big of a terrarium, they can actually not find their food. They can have a harder time finding their food because of where it is. So, because they have more room to find it and they might not be able to find it as well. And tarantulas aren't exactly known for their great eyesight. But yeah, I don't understand why this is a fight. Like, why? I don't understand why this is a fight between you because just break up with him. Like, no, you, he's not in your care. The tarantula is, and you can't just so you shouldn't just give the tarantula to a shelter. I would rather break up with him. I would break up with my boyfriend before I gave up any of my pets. I mean, I'm obviously aromantic, so I'm not gonna have a relationship like ever. But if I did and I had a boyfriend or a partner or whatever, I would totally break up with them like before I gave up my beloved pets. I would never do that. And I wouldn't keep them in an area that was too cold. Besides, I want to be able to like see them. Like I have my tarantulas by my bed where I can look over and see them and they're so beautiful and I love them and they make my day better. And then I've got Yahtzee right over there across from the couch where I can see him in his tank there. And when he's on his rock at night, I can easily see him out and about. And he's in shed right now, so he's kind of hiding in the aspen, but I can see him if he comes out, and it's really sweet. So I love that. And then the update, April 10th, 2015, 4 months later. But yeah, I would definitely just ditch my partner. If we were even having fights like that, like if this was even a fight between us, if these were even problems between us, don't, like, I can't, like, if my boyfriend was like, no, you can't take the tarantula out of the basement, you can't have him around the house, and you have to keep him in the smallest tank possible, I would be like, okay, bye. I'm not taking care of you. I'm not obligated to care for you. I'm obligated to care for my tarantula. Plus, I care about my tarantulas more than you. I'm sorry, I just do. Yes, there's spiders and you're a human. I don't care. I I would choose my tarantulas over my mom too. I I would choose my tarantulas over other humans in my life because they're my babies, they're my children. That's what I consider them as. So, I would rather choose that above a human in my life. So, and then the update is April 10th, 2015, 4 months later. I got so many hateful PMs from the last post that I did not want to update, but I had equally as many requests to update, so here I am. To clear some things up, I asked my boyfriend if the spiders were okay to have in the house before we moved in together. He said it was fine as long as they were not visible. Me and my support worker have a similar agreement. I have them in my bedroom, so when she comes over, I will just close the door so she doesn't have to see them or know that they are there. I mean, she knows they're there, obviously, but as long as she doesn't see them, she's cool with it. So that's how we do. And then I just leave them and I'll close the door and then she doesn't have to go in there. So we just clean up out here or whatever. He said it was fine as long as they were not visible. The basement part happened only because my display case is in the basement, but there was never an agreement to keep the spiders only in the basement, just out of sight. Yeah, it's weird that having a bigger tank is an argument between him, because if you're paying for it and you're the one, dealing with that whole situation, if you, as long as he doesn't have to pay for it or anything, I don't see the problem. If you were expecting him to pay for it, then I would understand him getting upset. But the fact that it's not like he has to do anything. I don't know. Anyway. As for the cage, I'd asked to increase the size a few months ago. My boyfriend disagreed on spending the money for a larger cage. We split finances, but he's a student and I'm the only one bringing in income. And also because it made him uncomfortable. Well, okay, then you should if you are the one, bringing in the money, then shouldn't you be able to decide, yes, I want a bigger cage for my tarantula, and it's kind of important that your tarantulas that you size up as they grow. Like I recently got a bigger cage for Persephone because she's growing up, and so I'm upsizing her again. I got this it was like a used enclosure, but it was like a critter keeper except bigger. It was kind of one of those situations. So, one of those little critter keepers that you used to catch grasshoppers or whatever in as a kid. Anyway, as for the cage, yeah, we'd been discussing it for months. Okay, well, if it makes him uncomfortable, but it makes your tarantula comfortable, then shouldn't your tarantula's comfort come before your boyfriend's discomfort? What's the problem with a larger cage? Is it because he doesn't want the tarantula to get larger, and a larger cage means the tarantula is getting larger? Like, how does that work? For the other dead tarantulas I've cared for and since I was a child, I have 3 pet scorpions as well, but no one seems to be scared of the scorpions. Like, basically, what I think is you should be able to say, "No, I'm going to choose my pet's comfort above your, slight discomfort." And basically be like, if you have a problem with it, then you are welcome to break up with me. But, this tarantula, I made a deal to care for it. That's what you do when you get a pet. The deal is that you care for it the best you can for your life, for its lifespan. So, yeah, I'm gonna do that. And if you have a problem with it, then you should never have agreed to date me. And you can break up with me if you don't like it. I hate giving ultimatums, but when it comes to my pets, I will give an ultimatum. I will be like, no, either you can stay with me regardless of what I do for my pets, because they're my pets and I care for them, so I'm gonna get a bigger enclosure because the tarantula needs it, and if you don't like it, then you can break up with me. I will give that ultimatum. Now for the update. After I got home from work, I asked to have a talk. Um, I asked my boyfriend if there was any way to compromise about the spiders. I asked if he was willing to let me get a bigger cage and keep Christopher in the basement, and he said no. I can't get over that this spider's name is Christopher. I actually love it. And I just imagine someone asking you to hang out more and you being like, "Nope, I have to get home to Christopher." And they're like, "Oh, you have a son?" "No, I have a tarantula." Anyway, I asked if I could move the spider to a different room and he said no. I asked if there was anything I could do and he said no. All he said was no. I had asked him to elaborate. I asked him why he would allow me to move in at all, and he said it was because he thought the spiders would die in a few months like fish. I explicitly had explained to him that tarantulas live for 10 plus years. Honestly, that depends. Male tarantulas could live for significantly less. If you get a male tarantula, their sole purpose is to breed. So usually they only live a few years and then if they're out in the wild, they eventually breed and then they die. So but if you have one in captivity, it'll live for, I don't know, like 5 years, maybe tops. But if you get a female, then they live for like 20 to 30 years. And all 3 of mine right now are females. I'm like 95% sure they're all females. I know for sure that 2 of them are females because they were sold to me as females. And the third one was identified. I took some pictures of her and she was identified as a female by Reddit. I'm not sure how accurate that is, but I'm pretty sure. But I do know that I've had her for over a year, so, she's been around for a while, so I'm thinking probably she's an adult. I'm thinking probably she is a female. Anyway, I asked if he was willing to seek therapy at all, and he told me, "I don't need to seek therapy just because you decided to bring in a nasty creature into my house. I'm not the one with the problem." Okay, hold on. You invited her to move in when she said she had the tarantulas, and you explicitly explained to him, "Yeah, they live for a long time, so you're gonna be dealing with this for a while." Wow, you have problems. You're a bitch, and you're even more of a bitch for thinking it would be okay for me to put up with your monsters. Only a fucking evil monster would allow another evil monster to live with her. Take your evil monsters with you and get the fuck out of your house, out of my house, or oh my god. This boyfriend. Okay, I get the feeling this is not just about the tarantulas. This boyfriend would be abusive no matter what. But wow, calling someone's beloved pet that, like, there are animals I don't particularly like, but I would never go around telling people their animals were disgusting or monsters or whatever. Like, I would never say that about another person's pet because it's just not nice. Like, these are the same people who, and the things I'm talking about is like, when I would post a picture, people post pictures of their rats or videos of their rats, and people are like, ew, why would you keep that gross vermin and stuff like that? Like, that's not necessary. Regardless of how you feel about the animal, you could just say something like, oh, yeah, that's not a pet that I would like to keep. But, you don't have to be rude about it and insult someone's pet. Like, there was no need for that. Like, if you're going to be, I don't know, there's no need to insult it just because you wouldn't choose to keep that pet and because you wouldn't choose to keep a rat or a tarantula or whatever. And he never should have been like, yeah, you can move in and that's okay, if he had a problem with the freaking spiders. Whatever, he's pissing me off. Honestly, I just think that he is a horrible, abusive person, and that he would be horrible and abusive no matter what. At this point, I couldn't believe. At this point, I couldn't believe. At this point, I couldn't believe that someone I loved called me a bitch and a whore. So I just calmly went and started packing up my things. My boyfriend followed me from room to room, calling me a spider whore. No, I'm not making that up, and asking me if I would rather date Peter Parker. Wow. I told him to please leave me alone so I could pack, and he got violent. He started picking up my clothes and throwing them at me, as well as kicking my legs. Yeah, this is a horrible, abusive person that would have been abusive with or without the tarantulas. Oh my god. I then called the police and went outside to sit in my locked car. While waiting, my boyfriend was pounding on the car door. He then went back inside and returned with Christopher's cat and threw it at me. Then he kicked my cat. While police showed up and my boyfriend was arrested, he's being charged with domestic violence and animal cruelty because my cat has a broken rib. Christopher is dead. Oh my god. Oh, I'm so sorry for the loss of your beloved Spider OP. That is so sad. Like, I'm really sorry that he even had you keeping them in the basement in the first place, because obviously, it wasn't good for them. I mean, two of them fucking died. And the fact that you tried to do this and fix things and, like, fix the problem, and, it was a good compromise. He doesn't have to see Christopher, but, get him out of the basement and or get him a bigger cage with some kind of heat source, and you can have that for him, and then but, your boyfriend wouldn't concede on anything. This is just a horrible, hateful person who would have been abusive with or without the tarantulas in the picture. This is just the situation. I'm so sorry, and as someone who owns tarantulas, has owned tarantulas, and would like to continue owning tarantulas in the future, I'm sorry. Like, I have my 3, and that's good for right now, and they're good, and I'm really happy that I have them, and, like, I just now I feel sad. Like, I would never want anything to happen to my tarantulas. Luckily, my mom is amazing about it. Like, she let me bring them with, and I have them in my bedroom for right now, and they're good. Like, they're doing good. You know, I feed them and I take care of them and I give them what they need, and they're good. And like, it's really hard to imagine anything happening to my animals. Like, I've got my tarantulas, I've got my snake, and I've got some snails, which I originally bought 3, but then they had babies and there was a ton of them, so I just brought them all to my mom's place. So, but like, as a tarantula lover and someone who loves invertebrates and reptiles, I'm just so sorry for that. It is so unfortunate that you ended up with someone like this and a horrible person like this who would treat your tarantulas this way. Too long didn't read. If your partner is mean enough to hate an innocent animal who's not a good partner, run away before he kills your pets like mine did. That's another reason why I wasn't gonna get a partner at all. Like, even before I was aromantic, I was very adamant about the fact I knew I was aromantic. I was very adamant about the fact that I just didn't want another boyfriend. I didn't want another boyfriend. It reminds me of that similar story that we saw where it's like the partner didn't like the tarantula and ended up killing it eventually. So, edit. If another person says this isn't real, I'm deleting the post. There's no point in posting if no one believes me. That is very disappointing. I can't believe people are saying this isn't real. That is a bunch of BS. That people should not be saying that. People need to shut up and mind their business. And then someone in the comments says, final comments. Someone in the comments says, I'm very sorry for the loss of your spider. Well, I can understand that he may have a phobia of spiders. Him completely losing it like this is extremely overdoing it. I say this with all seriousness, and I'm not trying to downplay your loss. Maybe you can see Christopher dying as him making a sacrifice to save you from a bad relationship choice. And someone mentioned that in the comments of the other tarantula posts that we saw. I think that was like a long time ago, but the tarantula was named Agnes, and I remember there was an altercation between OP and her boyfriend about the tarantula. OP and his boyfriend about the tarantula, about, moving in, but the boyfriend didn't want him to bring the tarantula, so they were trying to see if there was anything they could do, any compromise they could make, and the boyfriend ended up killing the tarantula, unfortunately. And then OOP says, "Thanks. I don't know if I can think of my baby as a sacrifice, but I know that Christopher wouldn't have wanted me to stay with a guy like that. I'm going to miss my fuzzy dude." Aw, I know. I know. It's like really upsetting when they die. I mean, I've lost tarantulas not to abusive partners, but just to natural causes because a couple of them were slings and the babies tend to die like really easily. That's why when you breed tarantulas, they have like hundreds of babies. So that most because like 99% of the babies do not survive. So they have to have like a ton of them at once so that a few can survive. And then someone else in the comments says, he's going to get some jail time, I think. I hope you can get your affairs in order and never see him again. It sucks that a pet had to die, but at least you're not going to have to be around this guy anymore. OOP says, I hope he gets jail time. The police took photos of the bruises on my legs, so there is proof. The neighbor across the street also witnessed everything that happened outside, including him kicking the cat. When someone commented that happened, OOP added more info. I feel like that escalated quickly, but my boyfriend has a history of anger issues with previous girlfriends. He was arrested for domestic violence harassment when he was 19, but his then girlfriend testified for him and the charges were dropped. I thought that 6 years was enough to change someone, but I was wrong. Everything he did to the animals, he did because I called the police. He snapped because there were drugs in the house and he didn't want to go to jail again. His domestic violence harassment was for shouting, not for hitting, but I should have known better. And I didn't include it because I assumed this was a stupid argument over a tarantula, and maybe with some advice for overcoming a phobia. We haven't had any major fights over anything but the tarantula. Things were perfect besides this. As for the drugs, it was weed. Okay. But so this was before weed was legal. Um, but basically, final thoughts are really sorry for the loss of your tarantula, OP. Um, and he is a bad person. It's really unfortunate everything that happened, and it's really unfortunate that you decided to be a good person and like give him a second chance in life because of what happened in the past. But you were like, no, I think I'm going to actually give him a chance. And like, I am of the opinion that you should give people second chances, but also to a point. And, like, if they are going to be, this way, if they are going to like kill your pets and abuse you physically and verbally like this and call you terrible names like that, then yeah, that's pretty awful. And like I think everyone should get a second chance. I love that, but sometimes you just give the wrong person a second chance and it doesn't work out. But yeah, I agree that he shouldn't have agreed for you to move in with him, but I think he would have been abusive no matter what, whether the tarantula was a factor or not. whether the tarantulas were a factor or not, like, he would have been this way and he would have revealed his true colors eventually. You're just lucky that it was sooner rather than later, I guess. Like, things could have been a lot worse. So, you know, I guess there was good stuff and there was bad stuff. The bad stuff being that he abused you, he broke your cat's ribs, and you lost your tarantula. But the good stuff is that, he showed his true colors and you can get out of there and leave that abusive relationship and leave your abuser, and that's more than a lot of people can say. Alright, let's see about some comments. I just want to add one more thing, and that's that the tarantula should. And that's that, about the whole tarantula thing and the phobia thing, then yeah, I would rather see a therapist, like, if you agree to move in with someone that has something that you have a phobia of, then, if you decide you really love the person, then you can overcome that and you can go to therapy and stuff. And there are ways that you can do it. And exposure therapy is a good one, I've heard. And I've been using that on some of my own stuff, actually. So there's that. So he could have just gone to therapy, but he doesn't see himself as the problem. And that in and of itself is a problem. Okay, let's see the comments. Things were perfect before this. Narrator. Things were not fine before this. Things were perfect before this. He was arrested for domestic violence. Girl, it was literally in his criminal record. It was definitely not perfect. I thought 6 years was enough time to change. Has he been seeking therapy, anger management, making amends for the hurt he caused? Mere biological aging isn't the kind of growth you're looking for. That's honestly true. I don't know, if he wasn't actively trying to fix what he did, then I don't see that as a growth thing. Then that's definitely should be a problem and a red flag in and of itself. But you know that line from BoJack, when you truly love the person and you're wearing rose-colored glasses, all the red flags just look like flags. This is why I hate when people say time heals all wounds. No, it doesn't. Work heals wounds, and the people who don't put in the work stay exactly as they are. Time won't magically improve them. I feel like whoever said this conflated grief with wounds. Grief gets easier with time, but not shit like abusive behavior. To some degree, it's not really true for grief either. I have PTSD and I've been in support groups about it, and I've known people whose 10-year-old grief feels as fresh to them as it did in year one because they haven't done the necessary work of learning to move on with their lives. A lot of the work we do after a grief event doesn't necessarily feel like conscious work, but when you meet someone who hasn't done that work, you can see exactly how valuable it is. I'd actually also be interested in his past with animal abuse. I've got a funny feeling he's been like that since childhood rather than 6 years, which is a sign of a future serial killer. Maybe I've watched too much true crime, but I can definitely see him killing at least one partner in the future. Also find it kind of weird that she knows the only reason the charge didn't stick was due to the partner testifying for him, which means she knows he was guilty and this wasn't a misunderstanding. Should have told the police about the drugs, as sad as it sounds depending on the state. He'd be more likely to go to jail for that, to be honest. Not necessarily depends on if there is a pattern from childhood, not one offs, but we don't know his childhood. I'd done something reprehensible to a dead bird when I was 3 to 4, but then worked for a 24/7 emergency animal hospital when I turned 18. Did it for shy of 7 years. I'd like to think I'm not a serial killer considering, I never committed murder. That is a good barometer of whether you are a serial killer. Which is why I added if it's a pattern. Yeah, totally. It was a one off. That was a one off thing. Alright. I hate to hate on victims in these posts, but I just throw my goddamn arms up in the air and roll my eyes when I see tidbits like that added to the post. Are women really so desperate? What are we doing here? If you look up a man and he has a domestic violence record, run. If you look up a woman and she has a domestic violence record, run. Like, it's so easy. It's a record showing you that he literally beats people, and you go, maybe he won't. For me, is delusional. And especially never let someone with domestic violence charge near your pets. Hurting your animals animals to keep you in line or to punish you is something they can usually do without getting in trouble. My ex used to lock the dogs in the basement. It didn't hurt them exactly, but they cried all night and I couldn't sleep. They got more and more anxious and became Velcro dogs, which only made it worse when he locked them up. No one but me would give a damn about someone locking up their dogs. They were fed and watered and saw the vet, but we were all but being tortured. But we were all being tortured. My dad used to threaten to kill my cat as a child. When she actually died, he was heartbroken and kept saying he saw Sori, and I believe him. He never did threaten the dog or the next cat we had 2 years later, but the visceral fear of the threat still lived with me. My dad got rid of my rabbit when I was a kid. I think because my room wasn't clean. I adored that rabbit. He lived on my bed and slept with me every night. Turned out he wasn't quite as heartless as it seemed because he actually gave him to my grandma, who ended up with the tiny house bunny in her apartment, and she told me about it the next time she saw me because she wasn't up for that level of cruelty to her granddaughter. But up to that point, all I knew, that bunny was gone forever. Abusive people will abuse you with the best weapon they can, and threatening your pet is a safer way to do it than giving you a black eye other people can see. You should have exploded him with your mind. Just kidding, obviously, but not really. I hope you're doing way better now. I wish I could have. I got out. It was almost 30 years ago, and the dogs didn't make it out with me. My current spouse is an amazing human, and I think he loves our pets more than me sometimes. I am so sorry you had to suffer and lost your dogs to domestic violence. I know, right? It's really unfortunate. Like, it's all unfortunate. Ugh. Anyway, it's really upsetting, and they're right. Abusive people will abuse you with whatever they can. My dad used to do similar stuff to our animals. I mean, he killed a rabbit by keeping it locked up in this teeny tiny closet, and it wasn't even enough space for the rabbit to hop around. He let our birds fly out the window because he didn't like them pooping everywhere, even though he bought the birds and he let them fly around free in the room, and that's just what they do when they're around. When they're flying around, they fucking poop because they're birds. And when I was like 14, he abused the dog right in front of us. Like, he beat the shit out of our dog for taking his McDonald's sandwich or something because she was a puppy and she wasn't trained properly and he didn't know how to do it. And, he just hated her because he didn't want a dog around. Then why did he get a dog? Anyway, that dog actually probably fared the best because the rabbit died and the birds probably died, I'm assuming, because if you let pet birds go into the wild, they fucking die. And the dog just got sold to a new home because, we weren't able to train it because she was a puppy. Anyway, who knows? I mean, I was 14 and that was 16 years ago, so who knows? She might still even be alive because she was a puppy at that time. I mean, she'd be old now, but, dogs live a while. Dogs live a long time. mm, Girls are explicitly and repeatedly told from toddlerhood that abusive men will change, that the love of a good woman who will redeem a selfish man and he will make good, that men who are monsters will be gentle to the women they love, that giving up on a relationship is wrong, that they should be willing to sacrifice and compromise and tolerate for relationships with men, and that abusive behavior is romantic. Who is telling young girls this? Because it's fucking not me, and it's not my parents. The other women in our lives, mothers, aunts, grandmothers, coworkers, celebrities, model being doormats and staying in abusive relationships, and normalize and excuse selfish, abusive, and even violent behavior. There are few, if any, legal, social, or consequences to men for abusing women, and disgustingly selfish behavior in men is not only tolerated society wide, but celebrated and treated as comedy. Okay, that's actually most of that is correct. Most of that is pretty accurate, unfortunately, and that's the best case scenario. 25% of children are abused physically or sexually, and the number of children emotionally abused is, of course, far higher, which makes them both more vulnerable and more attractive to abusers seeking new targets. It is indeed a poor decision to date a man with a history of domestic violence, but unless a woman has been unusually lucky, she will have been told exactly the opposite by every person and every narrative surrounding her for an entire life. This has been so exhaustively documented that I feel we can, at a minimum, stop reacting with surprise and incredulity every time a woman willingly engages or continues to engage with a man who is a worthless piece of shit. Ding, ding, ding! And let's not even get into how this training is literally impossible to avoid because, like, 50% of media is some woman healing a terrible man. Yep, I wasn't told by my family that women could change a man to be better, but it sure as hell was in the songs, TV shows, and movies. That is so disappointing. So fucking disappointing and so untrue. And, like, I also feel like the narrative give people a second chance could be harmful because most of the time it's like good. Like, you should give people second chances or whatever, but at the same time, you know, like, to a point, but I feel like, I don't know, being on the domestic violence registry, I feel like would be a problem, and having been charged with domestic violence in the past, not everyone who's been charged with domestic violence is automatically a bad person. And some of them do, seek therapy or anger management or whatever, and you can heal from that. I'm just saying, in most cases, it's a bad draw, and it's a bad idea to even, go there. Like, just go on a dating site, you know, go find a group that you like with people who have similar interests. Go find a different guy that's not on the domestic violence registry, on the very good chance that he will abuse another person, and it could be you. So maybe just stay away from people like that generally. Like, I'm not saying it'll never happen where they can heal and get better, but in most cases, it's probably best to just avoid that. Anyway, I am done for now, but I'll be back. Um, my mom is leaving August 2nd, and she's gonna be on a trip for about 2 weeks. So I will return then, maybe, possibly. I don't know. I'm gonna be doing basically whatever I want, and I'm still technically on break from YouTube, so